Chapter 4, Know Your Citizenship and Rights. 4-1. The Great Hoax, Why We Don't Owe Income Tax, version 4.54 Top Secret. For official Treasury IRS use only FOUO Copyright Family Guardian Fellowship http://famguardian.org/ 1. 4. Know your citizenship status and rights. 2 page. 3. 4. Know your citizenship status and rights. Point 4-1. 4.4.1 Natural Order. 4-11. 5.4.2 Public v. Private. 4.306 4.2.1 Introduction. 4.327 4.2.2 What is property? 4.358 4.2.3 Public versus private property ownership. 4.369 4.2.4 The purpose and foundation of de jure government, protection of exclusively 10 private rights. 4.3811 4.2.5 The right to be left alone. 4.4412 4.2.6 The public you straw man versus the private you human. 4.4713 4.2.7 All public government law attaches to government territory, all private law. 14 attaches to your right to contract. 4.5315 4.2.8 The ability to regulate private rights and private conduct is repugnant to the 16 Constitution. 4.5517 4.2.9 Political public law versus civil private common law. 4.5918 4.2.10 Lawful methods for converting private property into public property. 4.6319 4.2.11 Unlawful methods unused by government to convert private property to public. 20 Property. 4.6821 4.2.12 The franchisee is a public officer and a fiction of law. 4.7722 4.2.13 Public versus private franchises compared. 4.79 23 4.3 Public privileges v. Private rights. 4.8124 4.3.1 Private rights defined and explained. 4.8325 4.3.2 Public rights privileges defined and explained. 4.8526 4.3.3 Public rights are created legislatively by the state and can be taken away, while 27 Private rights are created by God and cannot be taken away. 4.8628 4.3.4 The creator of a right determines who may regulate and tax it. 4.9029 4.3.5 Public privileges and private rights compared. 4.9330 4.3.6 Private civil liberties v. Public civil rights v. Public political rights. 4.9631 4.3.7 Why we must know and assert our rights and can't depend on anyone to help us. 4.10432 4.3.8 Why you shouldn't cite federal statutes public rights as authority for protecting 33-year private rights. 4.10434 4.3.9 Enumeration of inalienable private rights. 4.10835 4.3.102 of you. 4-114. 36 4.4 Government. 4.11437 4.4.1 What is government? 4.11438 4.4.2 Biblical view of taxation and government. 4.12439 4.4.3 The purpose of government, protection of the weak from harm and evil. 4.13740 4.4.4 Equal protection. 4.14741 4.4.5 How government and God compete to provide protection. 4.15542 4.4.6 Separation of powers doctrine. 4.15843 4.4.7 Sovereign equals foreign. 4.16444.4.8 The purpose of income taxes, government protection of the assets of the wealthy. 4.18045 4.4.9 Why all man-made law is religious in nature. 4.18146 4.4.10 The unlimited liability universe. 4.18547 4.4.11 The result of violating God's laws or putting man's laws above God's laws is slavery, 48 servitude, and captivity. 4 to 196. Chapter 4, Know Your Citizenship and Rights. 4 to 2. The Great Hoax, Why We Don't Owe Income Tax, version 4.54 Top Secret. For official Treasury IRS use only FOUO Copyright Family Guardian Fellowship http://famguardian.org/ 4.4.12 Government instituted slavery using privileges. 4.1972 4.4.13 Government has become idolatry and a false religion. 4.2033 4.4.14 Socialism is incompatible with Christianity. 4.2204 4.4.15 All governments are corporations. 4.2255 4.4.16 How public servants eliminate or avoid or hide the requirement for consent to become masters. 4.22874.4.16.1 Rigging government forms to create false presumptions and prejudice our rights. 4.23084.4.16.2 Misrepresenting the law in government publications. 4.23094.4.16.3 Automation. 4.232.104.4.16.4 Concealing the real identities of government wrongdoers. 4.233.114.4.16.5 Making it difficult, inconvenient, or costly to obtain information about illegal 12 government activities. 4.237.134.4.16.6 Ignoring correspondence and or forcing all complaints through an unresponsive legal 14 Support staff that exasperates and terrorizes customers. 4.238.154.4.16.7 Deliberately dumbing down and propagandizing government support personnel who have 16 to implement the law. 4.239.174.4.16.8 Creating or blaming a scapegoat beyond their control. 4.240.184.4.16.9 Terrorizing and threatening, rather than helping, the ignorant. 4.24119 4.4.17 Why good government demands more than just obeying the law. 4 to 243. 24.5 Separation of powers. 4.24421 4.5.1 The three definitions of United States. 4.24422 4.5.22 Political jurisdictions. National government versus federal general government. 4.2325024 4.5.3 The federal zone. 4.26325 4.5.4 The Buck Act of 1940 4 U.S.C. Sections 105 to 111. 4.267.264.5.4.1 The United States of America. 4.267.274.5.4.2 The Shadow States of the Buck Act. 4 to 269. 28 4.6 The Constitution is supposed to make you the sovereign and the government your 29 servant. 4.27030 4.6.1 The Constitution does not bind citizens. 4.27131 4.6.2 The Constitution is a legal contract. 4.27232 4.6.3 How the Constitution is administered by the government. 4.27233 4.6.4 If the Constitution is a contract, why don't we have to sign it, and how can our 34 predecessors bind us to it without our signature? 4.27435 4.6.5 Authority delegated by the Constitution to public servants. 427.436 4.6.6 Voting by Congressman. 427.537 4.6.7 Our government is a band of criminal extortionists acting without legal authority. 427.638 4.6.8 Oaths of public office. 427.639 4.6.9 Tax collectors. 427.940 4.6.10 Oaths of naturalization given to aliens. 427.941 4.6.11 Oaths given to secessionists and corporations. 427.942 4.6.12 Oaths of soldiers and servicemen. 428.043 4.6.13 Treaties. 428.044 4.6.14 Government debts. 428.045 4.6.15 Our rulers are a secret society. 428.246 4.6.16 The agenda of our public servants is murder, robbery, slavery, despotism, and 47 oppression. 4-284. 48 4.7 The USA is a republic, not a democracy. 428.649 4.7.1 Republican mystery. 428.750 4.7.2 Military intelligence. 428.751 4.7.3 Sovereign power. 428.852 4.7.4 Government's purpose. 4-288. Chapter 4, Know Your Citizenship and Rights. 4-3. The Great Hoax, Why We Don't Owe Income Tax, version 4.54 Top Secret, for Official Treasury IRS Use Only FOUO Copyright Family Guardian Fellowship http://famguardian.org/ 14.7.5 Who holds the sovereign power? 42892 4.7.6 Individually held God-given unalienable rights. 42903 4.7.7 A Republic's Covenant. 42904 4.7.8 Divine Endowment. 42905 4.7.9 Democracies must by nature be deceptive to maintain their power. 42916 4.7.10 Democratic disabilities. 42917 4.7.11 Collective self-destruction. 42938 4.7.12 The First Bill of Rights. 42949 4.7.13 The mandate remains. 429.410 4.7.14 What shall we do? 429.611 4.7.15 Sorry, Mr. Franklin, we're all Democrats now. 4296124.7.15.1 Introduction. 4296134.7.15.2 Transition to Democracy. 4297144.7.15.3 Current Understanding. 4298154.7.15.4 Democracy subverts liberty and undermines prosperity. 4298164.7.15.5 Foreign Affairs and Democracy. 4300174.7.15.6 Foreign Policy, Welfare, and 9/11. 4301184.7.15.7 Paying for Democracy. 4303194.7.15.8 Confusion regarding democracy. 4304204.7.15.9 The Way Out. 4304214 4.7.16 Summary and Conclusion. 4-307. 22 4.8 Police powers. 4-310. 23 4.9 inches Domicile, and, residence. 431324 4.9.1 Domicile, you aren't subject to civil statutory law without your explicit voluntary 25 consent. 431326 4.9.2, subject to the jurisdiction, in the 14th Amendment. 431927 4.9.3, reside in the 14th Amendment. 432228 4.9.4, domicile and residence compared. 432229 4.9.5, Christians cannot have an earthly domicile or residence. 4 to 323. 34.10 inches, citizen and resident. 432431 4.10.1, resident, defined generally. 432432 4.10.2, you're not a statutory resident if you were born or naturalized in America, and 33 are domiciled in a state of the Union protected by the Constitution. 432634 4.10.3, you're not a statutory citizen under the Internal Revenue Code. 432735 4.10.4, why all people domiciled in states of the Union are non-resident non-persons. 4 to 338. 36 4.11, the two types of residents, foreign national under the common law, are 37 government contractor, public officer under a franchise. 434638 4.11.1, introduction. 434639 4.11.2, definition of residence within civil franchises such as the Internal Revenue Code. 434940 4.11.3, resident in the Internal Revenue Code, trade or business, civil franchise. 435041 4.11.4, resident equals government employee, contractor, or agent. 435542 4.11.5, why was the statutory resident under civil franchises created instead of using a 43 classical constitutional citizen or resident as its basis? 436044 4.11.6, how the two types of residents are deliberately confused. 436145 4.11.7, practical example 1, opening a bank account. 436346 4.11.8, practical example 2, creation of the resident under a government civil 47 franchise. 4 to 363. 48 4.12, citizenship generally. 436749 4.12.1, introduction. 437250 4.12.2, sovereignty. 4 to 374. Chapter 4, know your citizenship and rights. 4 to 4. The Great Hoax, Why We Don't Owe Income Tax, version 4.54, top secret. For official Treasury IRS use only. FOUO Copyright Family Guardian Fellowship http://fanguardian.org/ 4.12.3, Statutory versus Constitutional Citizens. 437924.12.3.1, context is everything in the field of citizenship. 438134.12.3.2, comparison of statutory U.S. citizen with constitutional U.S. **4 citizen on the subject of voting. 438254.12.3.3, how statutory citizens convert to constitutional citizens. 438664.12.3.4, legal statutory civil status v. political constitutional status. 43897.4.12.3.5, Supreme Court definition of constitutional citizen. 439184.12.3.6, statutory citizen resident status is entirely voluntary and discretionary. Constitutional 9 citizen status is not. 439210 4.12.3.7, constitutional citizenship is not a revocable privilege, nor are any of the Bill 11 of rights contingent on having that status. The Bill of Rights is applicable to all, and 12 not merely constitutional citizens. 4395134.12.3.8, comparison. 4.39614 4.12.3.9 Statutory, citizen of the United States, is a corporation franchise. 4.40115 4.12.3.10 You're not a statutory citizen under the Internal Revenue Code. 4.40216 4.12.3.11 Territorial statutory citizens are subject to its jurisdiction in statutes rather than 17, subject to the jurisdiction in the 14th Amendment. 4.41418 4.12.3.12 Who started the statutory v. Constitutional Citizen Confusion Scam. 4.41819 4.12.3.13 Statutory and constitutional aliens are equivalent under U.S.C. Title 8. 420.420.21 4.12.4 Proof that statutory citizens' residents are a franchise status that has nothing to do with 22-year domicile. 4.421.234.12.4.1 Background. 4.421.244.12.4.2 All statutory U.S. citizens are naturalized aliens whose nationality is a revocable 25 taxable privilege. 4.42626 4.12.4.3 National and citizen of the United States at birth. In 8 U.S.C. Section 1401 is a public 27 privilege, not a private right. 4.430.284.12.4.4 When are statutory citizens, 8 U.S.C. Section 1401 liable for tax? Only when they are 29 privileged residents abroad and not in a constitutional state. 4.432.304.12.4.5 Meaning of citizenship, used by federal courts. 4.436.314.12.4.6 Legal Dictionary. 4.441.324.12.4.7 Criminalization of being a citizen of the United States, in 18 U.S.C. Section 911, 4.444.334.12.4.8 U.S. Supreme Court. Murphy v. Ramsey. 4.446.344.12.4.9 U.S. Supreme Court. Cook v. Tate. 4.447.35 4.12.4.10 U.S. v. Valentine. 288 F. Sup. 958, 980 1968 4.451.364.12.4.11 Summary. 4.45237 4.12.5 Statutory citizens versus statutory nationals. 4.455.384.12.5.1 Introduction. 4.455.394.12.5.2 What if I don't consent to receive any of the benefits or privileges of being a 40 citizen? What would I be called? 4.456.414.12.5.3 Statutory citizens. 4.461.424.12.5.4 Statutory nationals. 4.463.434.12.5.5 Title 8 Statutory definitions. 4.467.444.12.5.6 Power to create is the power to tax and regulate. 4.469.454.12.5.7 Rights lost by becoming a statutory U.S. citizen. 4.470.46 4.12.6 Effect of domicile on citizenship status. 4.471.47 4.12.74 Types of American nationals. 4.479.48 4.12.8 Legal basis for state national status. 4.481.494.12.8.1 What is a constitutional state national? 4.481.50 4.12.8.2 Constitutional or state citizens. 4.482.514.12.8.3 An example state national. Perkins v. Elg. 307 U.S. 325 1939 4486 524.12.8.4 Why Congress can't define the civil statutory status of those born within 53 constitutional states of the Union. 4490 544.12.8.5 State citizens are not statutory, non-citizen nationals of the United States at 55 birth, per 8 U.S.C. Section 1408. 4492 564.12.8.6 Expatriation, 8 U.S.C. Section 1481, 4495 574.12.8.7 Statutory geographical definitions, 4 to 496. Chapter 4, Know Your Citizenship and Rights. 4 to 5. The Great Hoax, Why We Don't Owe Income Tax, version 4.54 Top Secret. For official Treasury IRS use only FOUO Copyright Family Guardian Fellowship http://famguardian.org/ 14.12.8.8 The 14th Amendment, 4499-24.12.8.9 Department of State Foreign Affairs Manual FAM 4501-34.12.8.10 Federal Court Jurisdiction 4502-44.12.8.11 Rebutted arguments against those who believe people born in the states of the Union are 5 not nationals. 4503-64.12.8.12 Sovereign immunity of state nationals. 4512-74.12.8.13 Conclusions. 4515-84.12.9 Summary of constraints applying to statutory, state national, status. Four 5159 4.12.10 Federal Citizenship. 4516104.12.10.1 Types of citizenship under federal law. 451711 4.12.10.2 History of federal citizenship. 452112 4.12.10.3 Constitutional basis of federal citizenship. 4527134.12.10.4 The voluntary nature of citizenship. Requirement for consent and intent. 453214 4.12.10.5 How you unknowingly volunteered to become a citizen of the United States under 15 federal statutes. 4535164.12.10.6 Presumptions about citizen of the United States status. 453617 4.12.10.7 Privileges and immunities of U.S. citizens. 4537184.12.10.8 Definitions of federal citizenship terms. 453919 4.12.10.9 Further study. 454220 4.12.11 Citizenship and all political rights are involuntarily exercised and therefore 21 cannot be taxable and cannot be called privileges. 4543224.12.11.1 Voting. 4548234.12.11.2 Paying taxes. 4555124 4.12.11.3 Jury service. 4553254.12.11.4 Citizenship. 4555526 4.12.12 Statutory, nationals, versus statutory, U.S. nationals. 4558274.12.12.1 Legal foundations of statutory, national, status. 4.56328 4.1